Welcome to FPP's Meet the Candidates. This Cable 10 series allows you, the voter, to hear directly from candidates their views on issues that are important to our community. This is all leading up to the primary election, which actually has begun now and goes up until June 23rd. Obviously, things are different this year as we're social distancing, so we're conducting our interviews from different locations. This year, we've taken questions via social media and email, so we have a lot of interesting topics to cover, so let's jump right in. Today's guest is Kelly May, and he is running for City Commission. Welcome, Kelly.
Hey there, how are you, Cathy?
I'm great. I'm excited about our interview here. So
Absolutely.
why don't you start off by telling us who you are, a little bit about yourself, and why you have decided to run for City Commission.
Absolutely. So, I'm Kelly May. I'm 34 years old and live here in Frankfort, Kentucky. I was born and raised here. Collins Lane, Bondurant in the Western Hills. And then at 19, moved to Lexington, Kentucky, as a lot of us do, to kind of get a little new experience. And after about 8 years of living there, moved back here in 2011 to then marry my high school sweetheart, my wife, Brittany. We got married in 2012 and have been here ever since. Since then, we have had a daughter, Lillian, 2.5 years old now, who keeps me busy and I always say up and going. We have helped start 2 businesses here in our community and are excited about things that we're doing and the things that we see going. That was really kind of one of the main reasons I decided to throw my name in here for office. I'm excited for the direction that our community is going. I am invested literally and figuratively, and my heart is here, and I want to help us achieve what I know that we can.
Okay. Can you tell us what previous experience you have that you think has prepared you to serve on the City Commission?
Absolutely. So at 19, I got my first job in the hospitality industry, working for Hilton Hotels, Weingarten Hammonds Management, and really kind of started to learn a lot about how to make people feel comfortable and happy. And that is kind of the whole career that I've chosen to stick with. I believe I have a unique skill set and ability to work on issues with people and resolve them. We have to do that all the time as a small business owner, for sure. And so I view the city government as a business, and the citizens and the voters are going to be our customers. We need to do everything we can to make the majority of everybody here feel happy and comfortable with the product that they're getting from us. So those skill sets, problem solving, multitasking, it happens all the time, day to day in our industry, I think are going to go very far in helping us with the city. And I've been able to make a lot of contacts in, certainly an ever-growing industry of tourism, urban tourism, and things like that. I'm very fortunate to have met a lot of individuals that I think are excited also about where Frankfort's headed. And looking forward to using that and those connections to help us grow.
Right. So if you're on the City Commission, what do you think the biggest issue facing the City Commission is right now, and how do you propose to address it if elected?
Great question. Well, obviously, we all know that we're in the middle of a very interesting situation with the COVID-19 pandemic. Until that hit, there were certain other issues. Right now, I think the most important thing that we can do as a city commission is look at how we're going to help small business, the investors here in our town. How are we going to help keep them around? How are we going to make sure that those individuals who've been affected by this can bounce back? We need to maintain the businesses that we've brought here and the growth that we've brought here, because those tax revenues and dollars go directly back to us as citizens to help fund projects. So I think looking at every available opportunity and resource to help us out in the private and in the public sector is going to be our most important priority over the next few years.
Okay. Well, if elected, what other ideas do you have to deal with what is going to be an economic crisis here in Frankfort? I mean, as with every town, really. That, because of COVID-19, we'll be facing this crisis. So what is it that the city government can do to address that?
Sure. Well, we need to be an open book about any time that there's a decision being made that's going to impact us. We need to make sure we're transparent with that. We need to have resources available. So when individuals call, whether it be for mental health issues, just dealing with it, making sure that our citizens are okay and comfortable and feel safe here. And making sure that we have economic stimulus packages that, if they're available, that we make it approachable, that we do everything we can to keep the education out there of what is available. So I would just, honestly say we continue to take the initiative to reach out to everyone, and just be there for when they have questions and help guide them through it.
Okay. Well, everybody's saying that, as we're going through this, it's a time to pull together. We'll get through this together, and we just have to do it together. So do you think because of that, this is a time when we should revisit the issue of a merged city-county government so that we could pool our resources?
So as the voters know, I'm running for a position that is a 2-year term. And in those 2 years, my focus is going to be on what we've already been doing right, continuing those things. I think a conversation like that, albeit can continue, it's not necessarily going to be a direct focus of mine. It's certainly not something that I'm running on as a platform as far as for or against it. As a private citizen right now, I have opinions on those things. But they're not based on, I don't feel like I have enough information right now to really comment on that so much. At the end of the day, whatever's best for our community to help us attract more individuals to come here, stay here, play here, enjoy their time here, I'm willing to do that. There are some issues, that will come up with that type of merging and deciding who pays for what. It's not going to be a focus of mine. If it comes up, I'll do the necessary research to make an informed decision on it. But it's not something that I was really running on with the idea of tackling.
Sure. Okay. Well, we're currently under a city manager form of government. So under that form of government, what do you see as the role of the city commission?
Sure. First and foremost, to listen to the people that live here. And a lot of times we say, listen to the voters. Well, there's a lot of people in our community that I care about that can't vote for certain reasons, and there's youth that we need to listen to also that don't vote, that I think, they're our future. We got to pay attention to that. I think the role, yes, simply of the city commission is to help guide those individuals that are in a more permanent position in the direction that the community wants to see them moving towards.
Okay. So do you think there's any way, or how can the city improve communications with the public, whether it's making a report about a pothole or the city giving out a vital public health information or anything in between? How can communication be better between the city and the people?
Sure. Well, obviously, social media, the majority of people now get their information from social media. Sometimes that's not always the best choice. But when it comes to getting information out and that it's coming from a reliable source, I think that's huge. So being able to send out email, Facebook, Twitter, tweets, any of those things really matter. It's quick. I say everybody, most people are going to have a smartphone on them these days. So when things hit, if we had apps that you could subscribe to and choose to join in on, then we can send out push notifications and things like that with important information. I know we already have, the reverse 911 callback for things, but landlines are getting fewer and fewer. And at the end of the day, let's catch up with the times and make sure we have a good, strong grip on the social media side of getting information out.
Okay. Well, we have some exciting things going on in Frankfort, particularly downtown. With Parcels B and C, Frankfort has a unique opportunity to facilitate an economic stimulus that really is needed now more than ever. However, there is also the question whether the developer can find a viable way forward post-COVID. So what should city government do, if anything, to reduce the developer's risk in an effort to ensure that the project is successful?
Sure. Well, obviously we want that project to come to fruition, whatever it is, whatever goes there. We don't want to see the ball kind of get stopped. We want to keep it moving and moving forward. There are a lot of opportunities to help fund potentially, using tax revenue, the development to keep it moving forward. But at the end of the day, I do believe that the developer will need to make sure that they have the necessary funds to complete, what they set out to do, and then reach for federal, state level assistance as well, and try not to pass the buck onto the taxpayer as best as possible.
I like that idea. Another exciting thing we have going on downtown is the Second Street Corridor. In 2016, Frankfort received a federal grant of $8 million to reconstruct that area. Have you seen the plans, and how do you feel about the planned improvements? Is there anything you particularly like or anything you would change?
When they first came out with the plans, I did glance over them a little bit. Mostly remembering kind of some of the aesthetic upgrades from, adding the sidewalks down through there and things. Am I an expert on it? By no means. I feel, everyone was saying $8 million, $8 million. It's a lot of money. The whole place is going to be, completely changed. $8 million goes quick. If you're building a sidewalk, that goes quick. Anything we can do to make it easier to navigate our city, to make it, again, more aesthetically pleasing for not only those that live here year round, but those that pass through, I think is the right move. So I'm going to support anything that helps that come to fruition. But not an expert on the Second Street Corridor.
Okay. As we've seen with recent events, buying local is crucial to keeping our local economy healthy. So how would you work with the Chamber of Commerce to support local businesses?
Absolutely. Great question. So again, as somebody that has started 2 businesses here in town, I first and foremost just want to say thank you to the Chamber for everything they've been doing. I've had Susie Hosley call me probably 3 or 4 times personally to see how that they can help us grow and help us continue to stay here during the initial shutdown. We need to make sure that it's easy for those of us in our community to support local. So how do we do that? Increase information on what is available, reaching out to our local food providers. That's going to be huge. And we're seeing that in the restaurant and bar industry as it is right now. You can't get some of the products you need, and the prices are going up. So now more than ever, the focus is on what can our community provide for us. And it's a great opportunity to really educate ourselves on what is available, who's making what, who's producing what, where are the beef producers, the vegetable producers, the other goods and services that they offer. Plain and simple, I think we just continue to make it easy. They've done a great job with designated certain areas right now as curbside pickup parking spots, and I think they're doing the right things. And I think we can continue to just keep that relationship open. And then again, back to the whole point of what we do as elected officials, listen to the public. When they have suggestions, let's listen to it and let's implement them. We aren't all going to have the correct answers all the time on the first go around. So continue to get feedback, and then again, listen to the consumers. What do they need? What do they want? What's available, and what can we provide for them?
Okay. Speaking of businesses, what changes in policy would you support as a commissioner to make Frankfort more business friendly?
Well, first, let me I believe Frankfort is business friendly. We hear that a lot. So I get a little upset when I hear people say, well, we don't think Frankfort's business friendly. My question would be, back to that individual is, well, why? So to make Frankfort more business friendly, using that term, again, it goes back to ease of information. How easily can you get the information you need so that when you start a project, you know what the expectations are going into it. We ran into a few issues, when we were starting ours, that simply came back to not necessarily knowing. And so when you have, I know the city has a kind of like a welcome packet right now for new business owners. We need to make sure that we continue to update that, make it electronically available for people. We're a unique community in that we have a lot of history and a lot of historic areas, and we have to make sure that we maintain those and value and maintain the integrity of those businesses. So as you come in and want to invest in a historic area or in a historic building, we have to make sure that that individual knows what's going to be expected up front, because it can be very costly if you do something incorrectly to get it back to the way it was. And you may incur cost on the way that you weren't planning on because you just didn't have the information available at the time. So again, education, education. How do we educate the potential businesses on what's going to be required to operate in Frankfort? And I believe strongly that, again, the integrity of the historic properties to me is important. When you lose it, it's gone. You can't build it back the way somebody built it 100 plus years ago.
Okay. So do you think there's any way the city commission can incentivize or attract new businesses or an industry to Franklin County?
Absolutely. Again, working with the entities that are already there, Chamber, KCDC, and DFI, that are funded by our citizens, and making sure that they're doing everything they can to maximize our dollars that we're, helping to fund those programs with. As a small business owner, I really am looking forward to the opportunity to be on the city commission to kind of act as a liaison for those individuals that might have questions coming in. And I can speak from experience. I can speak from the experience of opening them, of, again, one being new property, one being historic property, what it's going to actually look like to come here and try to invest.
Okay. Well, one issue we hear from business and industry right now is finding skilled workers, and that even once they do find skilled workers, they often cannot pass a drug test. So what can the city commission do to help address this issue in Franklin County?
Work with entities like the Chamber to put in training programs, to put in training programs for these individuals, to maybe kind of have a general overall understanding of the workforce in Frankfort, being how we're going to act downtown. So much of it being tourism, and making sure that we're hospitality driven and ready and to take care of our guests when they come in. It is difficult. I can speak from experience on that also, to find individuals willing to do some of the work. It's not always glamorous. And as small businesses, you can't always afford to pay, a premium price. So a lot of times those individuals, and no fault of their own, they have to do what's financially sustainable for their family, have to choose to go to another, we'll say like a corporate chain company or business, because they offer benefits and things like that. So perhaps there's assistance along the way, and helping the small businesses learn, what they can provide for their employees to attract and keep them here. I hear that a lot, that, at Frankfort, as we grow, can be kind of hit and miss. And so if you have a single mother of three who's working for $2.13 an hour plus tips, and you have a bad Wednesday, Thursday night, that's not okay. It's hard to survive on that. So a lot of times you find people going to areas, economies that are already Louisville's, right? It's there, it's going to be a Friday night is a Friday night is a Friday night. So how do we get that type of consistency into our community for every night, so you can kind of plan and budget on it?
Okay. In the last city commission election 2 years ago, candidates commented on the stagnant population growth in Franklin County, and that Frankfort needs a positive change in order to spur growth. Do you feel like the current city commission has made a positive impact in moving Frankfort in that direction? And what would you have done differently, or what will you do differently if elected?
I do. I believe that, again, every individual that has been there has done what they believe is best for the community. I think the question we need to ask ourselves is, if we want growth, why? We want population growth. What's the purpose of it? Is it just so we can say we have more bodies here? Or is it because we feel like that's what's necessary to sustain the economy? And I think there's a balance between both. I think we want to have the right growth. I think we want to have the right population growth, the right demographic of growth, a certain level of of the right demographics coming in that are able to support the economies and want to be here. So just adding 10,000 people to the population in a couple of high-rise, buildings and things like that, what do we want out of that? We need to address that first and identify that. I think that's the bigger talking point there, is what is that going to do for us? And do we want growth and a cookie cutter mindset, or do we want growth that's sustainable and growth that really speaks volumes to who we are as a community? And we need to identify that first.
Okay. And how will you, what is your vision, or do you want to hear what other people think, or both?
Sure. Well, yeah, absolutely. I as we're formulating these opinions, as candidates, we know how we've talked about it over the coffee table. We know we talk about it over lunch, but as a elected official, it's a different conversation. You have to approach it differently. What I would like to see, us really attracting more young professionals to the area that have some expendable income, that are interested in getting out and being active members of the community, and then making sure that we retain the individuals that have already put their roots here, that are just as important. So it's when we want to attract for the long haul, people that are looking to build roots here, and then let's retain those that have already chosen to do so. So I like a mixture of both. I don't want to see people leaving. I want to see more people coming in, but I want to see them coming in for the long haul.
Well, then you just posed my next two questions. How do we do that? What can Frankfort do to attract more young people to the community? And what can we do to keep our youth that are here to stay here, or at least if they go away like we do, but to come back and settle down and make a home here?
You hear a lot. Okay, so from the youth, it seems like we hear, well, there's nothing to do. So there's nothing to do in Frankfort. And I know that when I was a teenager, I agree with that. There was, but that's what you want to do. You're excited. You're ready for something new anyway. So I think, if I was 17 or 18 years old living in New York City, I probably would have said the same thing. I'm ready to go see something new and make a change. So what we have to do, we have to have jobs for them. We have to have continue to attract industries here that they're interested in working for and at. We have to have, I believe, more recreational outlets for individuals. I wish I could say I was a little more into the running and the biking and the swimming. I'm not, but there's a lot of, that demographic, that age demographic is. So let's increase that. Let's make it easier to, I look at downtown Frankfort, my vision for that is that we're essentially an all-inclusive resort, meaning you can come, you can park your car, you never touch it again, and you can get around and get fresh foods, whether they're cooked at a restaurant or you're going to a market to get those things. We want variety, we want opportunity. So we need to attract, I do think we absolutely need to attract some type of grocery store permanent back into the downtown corridor. That needs to happen. We have a food desert, essentially. If you live down there now and you don't have a car of your own, you're trying to get your groceries and time that around your children going to school, or, if you're providing care for a loved one or someone in your family, then you got to walk to the bus stop, get on there, go up, get as much of your groceries as you can that you can handle, get back on the bus and get back downtown. We got to fix that. More opportunities. And again, we're just going to keep going back to the same thing. I know it sounds like a broken record, but job growth, and economic growth. Make it attractive to invest here. Make it attractive to live here, and make it easy. Again, easy as much as we possibly can.
Okay. Now, you said a minute ago about your interest in walking and biking and hiking and
yeah.
But on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the value of walk, run, biking ability here in our town?
How would I rate the availability of it currently?
Well, just the value of it, first of all, but then the ability of it and what we can do to increase the ability of it.
Okay, sure. Well, I think it's incredibly valuable to be able to get, in a perfect world, in my view of how Frankfort would look and operate, you could get from one side to the other on a safe sidewalk or bike lane, however you need to do it. You can do it on foot. You don't need a car. to make that happen would be the ideal situation. Study after study shows that when you can link neighborhoods together, it increases not only the happiness of the individuals there because you get more interaction with people, but the availability of certain resources. Right now, at the beginning of the year, my wife and I moved into Indian Hills neighborhood. We're up here on Hopi Trail. And I took my dog on the walk down to the old Hex building where Rebecca Ruth has, I think, a distribution center or something run out of it. And that was the first time that I discovered the Blackberry Meadow, a part of Cove Spring. I was able to walk from Indian Hills into the downtown corridor in about 20 minutes. I didn't know that was an option. Now there's no sidewalks for us, zero sidewalks. And I count, if I'm sitting on my front porch in the morning having a cup of coffee, there's 10, 15 people walking up and down that area. Now that's just one example. I know that happens in neighborhoods everywhere. You see people doing it already because they have to. Let's make it safe. When you don't have a choice, you have to walk, you have to ride a bike, you're going to do it no matter what. So you can see the paths, literally the trails that people have made in certain individuals from where they walk it so often. I think that's a good time to start saying, where should we start connecting the neighborhoods? Where and how do we do that? So yeah, biking, recreation, it's all very important to me.
Okay. We're starting to run a little short on time. So I'm just going to ask you a few questions that can just be short answers.
Yeah.
Do you support allowing chickens within city limits?
I think that there is an opportunity to move to a sustainable way in which somebody can kind of help grow their own food in their backyard. You got to do it the right way. In short, yes, but let's make sure that we do it right. Let's do it, again, the safe way, the clean way.
Okay. Would you support regulations on food trucks?
Yes, but regulations, and I guess I'd have a follow-up question if there's a specific regulation that you're asking about versus just having regulations in general.
Regulations in general.
Yeah.
Other people have commented on, the competitiveness with the businesses that we already have, and what kind of regulations should the food trucks have with consideration of that as well?
I do support, the time in which, how long they can stay around, because you have businesses that are paying property tax to be here. And so if somebody comes in and parks right across the street from your restaurant or existing infrastructure, I don't want to use the term, so much, prying on what's already here, but yet it's not fair to those that are here year round and paying those property taxes to lose business to somebody that can come in on a hot night, get their cash and go.
Right. Okay. Where do you stand on the bicycle ban at Leslie Morris Park?
There's a compromise here, everybody. There's a compromise. Look, I'm all for historic preservation. I was growing up, in a Civil War buff type family. My father's real big on that stuff, and I was too, and I love it. I don't see any problem with allowing bikes up there in a park that was, designated and given with the idea of being used by everybody. I don't think that they should be allowed near the land fort. There's plenty of room up there to do both. And I think it actually helps increase the knowledge of what went on up there. More people that you can get up there, the more they're going to learn about what's going on.
Yeah. Okay. Last question. Some of the candidates have not been responding to the questions sent by the State Journal. If that includes you, why have you not taken the opportunity to make your views known to a wider audience?
Sure. Look, if I'm being honest, things changed, and they changed very quickly. So the type of campaign that I was hoping to run, grassroots, knocking on doors, shaking hands, and having people down to meet and greet, that changed. My priorities, again, switched to, most importantly, being a great father for my daughter. So I'm stay-at-home father now until further notice. It's not that I didn't support the idea. In fact, I think it's awesome. It's free press for all of the candidates. It's just things change and things go by the wayside, and you kind of slips your mind. but definitely I'm starting to get back active in that again. So there's no personal reason to do it or not. It just is a matter of time and priority switch, and my business has switched. The model in which we have to operate switches, and I got to get back to that. And yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we've all been shaken.
A little bit.
Yeah. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to you. And this is your time to look directly into your camera and talk directly to our viewers who are voters. Tell them why you're the best candidate and why they should vote for you.
Awesome. Well, when I started this idea of wanting to run and seek election, it was because my heart felt like it was the right thing to do. I love this community. If I didn't, we wouldn't be starting our family here. We wouldn't be starting our businesses here. I see the potential. I see the potential in the way in which the economy can grow here for us. The amazing citizens that we have here. There's so much talent here, and I want to be a part of that growth. I want to be a part of moving things forward. I want to be a positive individual through that change. I know that I will be. I believe that I have the unique ability to hear and empathize very well with anyone that I disagree with. And to me, it's about finding common ground. And know, most importantly, that I will always listen to you. When you vote for me, you're voting for somebody who's going to be honest. You're voting for somebody who is going to always stand up for what they believe in. And I will not compromise that simply because somebody wants to hear me say one thing versus the other. I'm going to be true. I'm going to be honest. So when you vote for me, you know you're voting for Kelly May, not somebody directing him to say one thing or the other. So I humbly ask for your vote, knowing that it's a very tough decision of who you put in office, because at the end of the day, we're helping steer and set the course for the way in which Frankfort looks for the upcoming years.
Okay, well, thank you very much for taking time to sit down with me today. I know it's a crazy time, so anytime we can get with our candidates, we really appreciate it. And I know our viewers appreciate it as well. And to the viewers, I want to remind you that voting is different this year. So what you need to do is, starting today, you can be sure to go online to govoteky.com to request your ballot and get up to date on those voting procedures. I know Cable 10 and the county clerk's office are going to be doing what we can to get that information out on how the voting process works this year. And you have more chance than ever to get your vote in. So that's what we're asking you to do. Get informed and go voice your choice. And that is all for us on this edition of Meet the Candidates. We'll see you next time.